when an entrepreneur created something called Silk Road, a website where people use bitcoins to buy pretty much anything.
The California man who created Silk Road, an online black marketplace for illegal drugs, was convicted Wednesday on 7 drug and conspiracy counts.
On October 1st, 2013, the FBI pounces. In that instant, the secretive empire of the Silk Road comes crashing down. This was no ordinary website. It was the darknet's outlaw marketplace, a hidden bazaar where drugs, forgeries, and illicit goods changed hands for cryptocurrency, all under the cloak of anonymity. At its center was Ross Ulbricht, known online as Dread Pirate Roberts, the alleged mastermind of this digital black market.
31-year-old Ross Ulbricht founded a drug-dealing website called Silk Road.
How did a 29-year-old idealist build a billion-dollar narcotics empire on the dark web? And what led to his dramatic downfall? This is the rise and fall of Silk Road, a story of libertarian dreams, encrypted dealings in Bitcoin, and a cat-and-mouse game with the law that gripped the world. But the story doesn't end in a prison cell. In a shocking turn of events, over a decade later, President Donald Trump pardons Ross Ulbricht in 2025, igniting fierce debates across the political spectrum.
Vote for me on day one. I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht. He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home.
Overnight, Ulbricht is released from a life sentence, walking free after more than a decade behind bars. Was he a criminal genius or a scapegoat of the digital age? This is not just the story of a website, it's the story of a revolution, a man, and the price of challenging the system. Ross Ulbricht wasn't a criminal mastermind in the traditional sense. Born in Texas in 1984, Eagle Scout, physics graduate, libertarian thinker. He believed government should stay out of personal choice, including what people could buy and sell. In August 2011, Ross attended one of the earliest Bitcoin conferences in New York. There he met pioneers who saw Bitcoin as the future of money, decentralized, borderless, censorship-resistant. It was the perfect tool for his vision. A truly free market beyond the reach of law enforcement. Back home, he built Silk Road using the Tor network, which hides the location of websites and encrypts user traffic. He combined this with Bitcoin payments, which are pseudonymous and don't require banks. The result? A hidden e-commerce platform where buyers and sellers could trade without revealing identities. In February 2011, Silk Road went live. It looked like an underground version of Amazon. Product listings, vendor ratings, and dispute resolution. But the inventory was anything but normal. Illegal drugs, forged passports, hacking tools. For months, Silk Road was known only to a niche crowd. Then in June 2011, a Gawker article blew its cover, calling it an anonymous Amazon for drugs. Traffic exploded. U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer publicly demanded a shutdown, calling it the most brazen attempt to break the law online. By 2013, Silk Road had over 13,000 listings for illegal drugs and an estimated 100,000 customers worldwide. Ross, under the Dread Pirate Roberts alias, posted libertarian manifestos and managed the site like a CEO. He earned commissions of around $80 million in total, on sales worth more than $200 million. Silk Road was designed to be untraceable. Tor hid the servers, Bitcoin hid the money trail. But mistakes surfaced. An IRS investigator found early Silk Road forum posts signed with rossulbricht@gmail.com. The FBI traced a critical server to Iceland, giving them a foothold. By mid-2013, Ross was their prime suspect. They tracked his movements and online activity, noting his hours matched US West Coast time zones. October 1st, 2013, Glen Park Library, San Francisco. Two undercover agents staged an argument to distract Ross. Another agent grabbed his open laptop, still logged in as Dread Pirate Roberts, and the email login as Frosty. On that laptop, chat logs, sales data, drug listings, and access to 174,000 BTC, worth $28 million then and billions today. The Silk Road website was immediately replaced with a seizure notice. Ross was charged with drug trafficking, money laundering, hacking, and operating a criminal enterprise. The same charge used against mafia bosses. In January 2015, Ross admitted creating Silk Road, but claimed he had handed it over to others. The prosecution countered with overwhelming digital evidence. On February 4th, 2015, Ross Ulbricht was found guilty on all counts. In May 2015, Judge Catherine Forrest sentenced him to 2 life sentences plus 40 years with no parole. She cited overdose deaths linked to Silk Road and told him, "You were the captain of the ship. The ship went down and you went down with it." Silk Road's closure didn't end darknet markets. New sites appeared within weeks. Silk Road 2.0, Alpha Bay, Dream Market. Bitcoin's reputation as crime money took years to recover, even as it became a mainstream financial asset. Ross's case split public opinion. To some, he was a visionary punished for promoting freedom of choice. To others, he was a drug kingpin hiding behind ideals.
We do have some breaking news. The theme of the last 2 days seems to be pardons and commutations and mercy. Well, now we're hearing from President Donald Trump.
Among more than 1,000 people pardoned or given reduced sentences is Ross Ulbricht, who founded the Silk Road.
Vote for me on day one. I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht. He's already served 11 years. We're going to get him home.
That was then candidate Donald Trump making a campaign promise at the Libertarian Party National Convention to pardon Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht.
On January 21st, 2025, President Donald Trump granted Ross Ulbricht a full pardon after 11 years in prison. He walked free into a world where Bitcoin was no longer underground.
On this exact day, May 29th, exactly 1 decade ago, I was standing in a courtroom in front of a judge. On that day, that judge gave me 2 life sentences plus 40 years without parole. When I launched Silk Road, buying a whole Bitcoin would set you back less than $1. Pocket change. Can you imagine that? Now they're worth over $100,000 each. Back then, there was just one exchange you could buy them on, unless you wanted to scour message boards or go to local meetups. Now it seems like every app I download has a built-in wallet with one-click buying options. There are dozens of new cryptocurrencies and blockchains, each one fascinating in its own right, and thousands more I'll never have time to learn about. There's DeFi and Web3, and now there's AI to help me navigate it all. It's nuts. Freedom, decentralization, unity. Stay true to these principles, and the future is ours. Thank you.